28 seconds.
27.
26.
25 seconds.
24. 23.
22 seconds.
21 seconds.
22 seconds.
19.
18.
17 seconds.
16.
15 seconds.
14.
13 seconds.
12.
11. 10 seconds. 9.
8.
7.
6.
Copy.
5 seconds.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome, cadets, to Starfleet Academy, reviewed by Subspace Chatter. This week we'll be analysing the 7th episode of the series Star Trek Starfleet Academy, Cosine, so lower shields and prepare to engage as we beam up opinions on this episode. Joining me today are a group of experienced fellow instructors. Thank you very much for joining me. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hey, I'm Lieutenant Commander Eve Zellick, and I am the director of the College of Music in the real-life Starfleet Fandom Academy.
And I'm Dallas. I'm formerly of Get Trek blog, and I'm working on a new project, Sci-Fi Speculations. Look for it soon.
Michelle?
I wasn't sure what order we were going in. I'm Michelle. I've been a Star Trek fan since the late 80s, early 90s.
I'm Phyllis. I'm a big Star Trek fan for a long time now, and I was fortunate enough to write on 2 series, Voyager and Enterprise, and now I'm watching Starfleet Academy.
Cool. Welcome, everyone. Class is now in session. Welcome back to the Academy. So the first question to consider is, has Jaden's relationship with Kyle been given the best treatment in the series, or do you think that depiction could have been improved on?
Kind of feels like one of them knows there's a relationship and the other one doesn't, if that makes sense.
I guess we could go into the subject that you wanted to discuss before we went live.
No. I think this is a good question. It's just that I'm thinking we've seen so little of them. Basically, they've been setting up Caden with Raimi and Kyle, and lots of looks and, a touch on the arm and whatever it is. And the same thing with Kyle. I think they sort of hug and they're going someplace together, but don't. So it feels as though it's a little pasted on, and just so you can heighten the tension between Raimi and Jaden. So I don't think their relationship is much yet. Kyle.
That's interesting. The actor of Jaden Crack has said is the first gay Klingon in Star Trek.
He said he's the first?
Yeah.
Oh, gay Klingon. I'm sorry. I just thought gay character. And I was
No.
No.
Well, first that we know of, who knows what happened after the Battle of Block to Kelbrocht. A little celebration, a bit of blood wine.
Right.
I'm gonna throw out the thought I had, and I talked with Dallas about this one, so I know I'm not totally crazy. But it feels like with the whole making Jaden a gay Klingon, it feels like they're overdoing it. Like it's been mentioned before, we knew that Culber and Stamets were gay because they were brushing their teeth together and sharing a morning routine. We didn't have, a flashing neon sign saying gay relationship here.
Or having them snog off the bat.
Yeah. I mean, whereas with Jaden and the other would be Gray
Kyle.
and Adira.
Kyle. Oh,
they were another good, I don't know how to exactly define that couple, but they were a good non-traditional, I guess you could say, couple. And that that wasn't the whole point. We knew it, but it wasn't the whole point. And yet with Jaden, I feel like they've taken him and they're going overboard. Like, why couldn't he have just been, a typical Klingon who happens to be gay? Why do they got to go with almost like They've made him a healer, which there's nothing wrong with that. But we know Klingons already, aren't necessarily comfortable with those who aren't warriors. They've put him in a skirt almost right from the beginning. Like initially he was wearing pants, I think, in the first episode or two. And then now he's constantly wearing a skirt.
Well, okay, so it's never referred to as a skirt. It is in a later episode or later episodes. It is called a kilt.
Okay.
So
okay.
Okay. Which is a type of skirt, so I'm not totally wrong, but they put him, and it doesn't look like a traditional kilt. So they put him in an outfit that we've only otherwise seen on female characters at this point.
Or
non-binary.
Or non-binary.
Yeah.
Right.
Like because I mean, if we look, I'm just looking at the core cadet group here.
Oh,
I'm not looking at all the background here. I'm looking at the core cadet group because that's the one we're following. And the only other ones wearing the same outfit is like Genesis and Sam. They wear that same outfit as Jaden.
I found it really interesting. Recently, I've been looking at the costuming for Klingons and the long history that I think a lot of Star Trek fans are not maybe picking up on. Where they're not so much a skirt, but they're like tunic design, and they're it is basically evolving to the idea of a skirt, where you've got like Gorkon in the long tunic, that looks very much like a skirt at the bottom and stuff like that. I find that the history of Klingon design and that part of the body has been quite interesting for costuming.
I guess my thought is, are they going to with all the changes they've made to this one Klingon? I mean, they've even cast somebody who, up until now, all Klingons, even the Klingon females, have been, substantially built people or substantially built actors, whereas Jaden is very slightly built, very thin. Like, I feel like they're almost going to turn him into, unintentionally turn him into sort of a caricature of what a gay Klingon would be, because it feels like they're going too they're putting too much.
I don't feel that way.
I just had a thought, which was the other thing about Klingons is when they mate or sex, whatever it is, they're biting each other and fighting
beating each other up.
Exactly. So far, and again, this is the 32nd century, so. And after the burn, so I guess you can say anything about the culture, but we have Jaden in a chaste kiss with Kyle, just to let you know that you weren't crazy when you were thinking about an attraction between Jaden and Raimi. And I'm thinking, is this also going to be different Klingon?
Well, now that you bring up the mating process, I'm looking at him the way he is, and I'm like, could he even survive a Klingon mating process?
Especially with two of them.
Yeah. Because I mean, we've seen if we want to see the results, it's been shown in Deep Space Nine where Jadzia and Worf are in the infirmary every next morning.
or you want to show it in? I think it was in Voyager.
Neelix.
With Neelix and the
Klingon lady.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was really tall, but I'm thinking of like Vix's. She was quite petite.
Not as petite. Maybe it could be the armor and stuff they had on her, but she didn't look as petite as Jaden. Like Jaden looks very
he's slight. He's definitely slight, but I don't have he doesn't strike me as so non-Klingon. I think also when they had his flashback episode, they sort of surrounded him with not the biggest, beefiest Klingons that they could have. So he sort of looked all right to me in perspective.
And they again were wearing like skirts.
Yeah. I noticed the skirt, but then I don't notice it anymore. And half the time they're framing them closer, so I don't really perceive it.
He kind of looks like He kind of looks like when teenage boys have, like hit their early 20s, how some teenage boys hit their early 20s and they haven't filled out yet. They've stretched out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They
That's
haven't
like
filled.
all 18-year-olds at college. That's like freshman year in college.
So,
Definitely.
well,
Makes sense.
okay. See, for me, I was in college when I was like 14, 15. So I can't relate to that. I can't relate. So,
oh, no, I just remember all the guys in college, not all of them, but like one of the cute ones I was following came back. He was a beanpole. He was really cute, but he was a beanpole when he started. And I think 2 years later he came back and it was like, oh my God, you got a chest and shoulders. What the hell happened?
I thought it's interesting. Someone pointed out on Facebook that there's also been a long history of homosexuality in warrior cultures, like with the Romans and I think the Greeks. And,
Greeks.
Yeah.
Not all of it was consensual, though. That part should be stated if that's going to be brought up, especially in Roman culture and Greek culture. Not all of it was consensual or what we would even consider appropriate, because some of it did involve minor children.
Yes, but I think it also involved 2 adults too. It seems as though it was part of the culture. Yeah. Although I don't think the Greeks, they fought well, but they weren't the same warriors that the Spartans were. And there was always that contrast between them.
No, I remember reading I don't know if it's true, but I remember reading somewhere that apparently it's thought that Spartan women on their wedding night would dress up like a man because that was what their husbands were used to, for lack of a better term. But I remember seeing that on something to do with Spartans, but I don't know if that's something they've substantiated or if it's just speculation.
I've never heard that, but go ahead.
Regarding how Star Trek is echoing like Earth tradition and stuff, the next question we had was, why are the grades based on current Earth grading?
I think that's one of those, no one's going to know it's a salt shaker unless you put a salt shaker in. So rather than having to explain what the grades are, they just, did a shorthand.
Yeah.
But I agree. There's a lot that's shorthanded for us so that these kids feel more like 90210 than they feel like really from representing different cultures in a way.
Well, I'm half expecting to see Drake show up at this point because our equivalent is Degrassi.
Yeah. Yes, we have our different Canadian American frames of reference, but same idea.
Yeah.
And I had problems with the Genesis. I really liked Genesis and Caleb together. I thought that was really warm and nice and non-sexual in a way, even though it seemed by the end that there was some kind of what's gonna happen with Tarima question. But it seemed to me as though they were searching mightily for some kind of flaw she could have that would propel her to put her whole existence, her whole career on, at risk. And I harp on the references being, me being puzzled about why you need them if they're not for admission. But I'm just puzzled at the whole recommendations being about being driven by fear. And it just didn't seem like it would be that big a deal. So it felt very much to me like they were manufacturing, or they painted themselves into a corner and had to find something for her.
I wonder if it's because nepotism's kind of fallen out of favor too in our world. Like people tend to look at nepotism now with kind of some serious stink eye. And Starfleet has had that history of nepotism when it comes to admirals' kids.
I don't think it was so much that it was to do with that she's motivated by fear that the references said. I think that's why she originally changed what the references said, and then she feels guilty about that. So she wants to she wants to either remove the references or remove the application because she feels guilt over that.
I realize that, but it seemed to me
Okay.
manufactured guilt because it didn't ring true to me that she would have needed to do that, given what we all believe that this driven by fear is now something that is both we're deeply flawed and it would keep you out of the academy, and I just didn't believe it. So that's why I had trouble with the storyline.
Well, I
Yeah,
just
I
had
think
the light bulb moment where perhaps the whole motivated by fear thing, perception-wise, it could look like that she's not fit to be a commander on account that, oh, she's motivated by fear. The commander has to be motivated by more than just that. So she might have, fudged the transcripts to make it look like she's more commandable. Because obviously she's very competitive, she's very, very capable, and she's also got a legacy to, try to live up to. So even the slightest thing that can make it look like maybe she's not up to snuff, like her Admiral Daddy, could, derail her potential command career. Turns out she did get derailed anyways. Oops.
On that thought, and this is going off of what you just said and what Phyllis was saying about it seemed like they were kind of trying to manufacture this. Now I'm thinking back to Superman, how when the Superman comics debuted, they had to introduce the concept of kryptonite because Superman was too perfect. He was too impervious. There was, he had no flaw. And so they needed to introduce a flaw, which in a comic book, you can ham-fistedly shove a flaw in there and people won't care because it's a comic book.
Or in this case, a kryptonite rock.
Yeah. Whereas here, it feels a little bit like they're like, okay, she's too much. We need to give her a kryptonite, but it feels like they've just kind of jammed it in there as opposed to us finding out in a more normal
organic way.
Yeah.
Well, I think it depends on the person. I think some people would react the way I think that she does. So for me, it's not unbelievable. It doesn't stretch my suspension of disbelief. But I think, I get your point. I think other people would not be like she is. So yeah, I get your point.
Right. I think Dallas has a good point that she's got this, she may not think clearly or along the lines that I or somebody who doesn't have that legacy might think. So that explains it a little. I just think you have to have a conversation like this after the fact to figure out if it really is believable and how to rationalize it. And that's where I don't think that the writing, the conception of it was as effective as it should have been.
The idea was great. The execution was not.
Yeah.
That I can agree on, yeah.
And what do you think, Michelle?
About whether or not, but Genesis.
Yeah, if it's believable.
Well, I like her as a character. She's a strong, independent woman, but I'm on the impression although she's got a lot to live up to, she wants to succeed on her own terms rather than depend on Daddy's reputation.
Yep.
So I think that's what's driving her more than anything else. Is how much pressure would a cadet be under if Dad's an admiral?
So you think she acts believably?
I think she. Yeah, I've not seen any reason to doubt her so far.
Okay.
I don't doubt that she is motivated by fear or anything else. I just, like you've said, and Dallas, the execution wasn't up to what I would like from the series.
I wouldn't blame the character or the actor for it, though.
No.
I think
No.
she did it perfectly well. And for the character, I think she'll be a better leader as a result of this.
I will say, though, because it was touched on a few minutes ago, the scene with her and Caleb, I'll be honest, to me, if you look at it as a triangle between Tarima, Caleb, and Genesis, him and Genesis would be the better pair. Him and Tarima would be more like an Odo and Loaxana, where because we had Odo and Loaxana who ended up developing this really deep friendship that was not romantic, but you could definitely call it love. But as partners, obviously, they wouldn't work as partners. He was meant more for Kira, who had more similar experiences and, you know, was more his type. I almost think Caleb and Genesis, because they both have these huge weights on their shoulders from different reasons. They both got something to prove and everything. I think Caleb and Genesis are more on an even footing for a potential relationship, whereas Caleb and Tarima would be more of a Odo and Loaxana thing. Like, to me, that's what I see between the three of them.
Interesting.
That was one question we had. Who do we think Caleb is more chemistry with, Tarima or Genesis?
Because the Tarima one feels a little bit pushed because of the Betazoid aspect, too. Because we know Betazoids can influence other people's feelings. Whether they intend to or not, they can.
As Tarima has done.
I think it's important that they have more. They seem to have more in common because they're.
Yeah.
Well, because they're both attending Starfleet Academy, and Tarima is at the War College, so it's a bit different.
Yeah. Also, Talima and Caleb are kind of fraught. They're sort of put together as star-crossed lovers or something. Where it's all attraction and not necessarily a
Up
real.
here.
Yeah, exactly.
Being a bit of a YA tropey kind of thing, I'm gonna guess they're gonna go with Tarima and Caleb as a couple throughout the series. They're gonna have their ups and downs, but they're gonna still be with each other. I mean, that just seems like a YA thing to do.
Yep. It's definitely a 90210 thing to do, but there's also, if they go long enough, there's usually switching and mixing and matching. So
yeah.
I will say this though, Genesis and Caleb on screen, they had some really great chemistry.
They do.
If they're not gonna have, if they're not gonna, think about it, they're at least gonna be good friends.
Yeah,
I've noticed articles online saying Alex Kurtzman is thinking about the series as like going for like 4 or 5 seasons. That's the way
then you definitely need some switching.
Yeah.
Well, that would be an academy track. 4 years in, and you're an officer.
Right. Or maybe in today's world, it's a 5-year track, like college sometimes.
And depending what you take, I mean, Jaden being a healer, probably medical school takes a while like it does for us now. I mean, even with all their technologies and stuff, he's not like the doctor programmed with everything he needs.
Yeah, maybe by year 4, we'll see if he becomes a doctor or if he stays on as a nurse.
I wonder if there has it been written or said as it is written. Has it been written that each year is going to be a different grade, a different year?
Well, Paul Giamatti has said that he will not be returning for the 2nd season.
Oh,
I'm disappointed to hear that.
Yeah. There goes the biggest reason to watch.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was just hearing the other day, which I didn't realize that, I don't know if it's true, but apparently Giamatti was offered a cameo and he was like, I've always wanted to play a Star Trek villain. And they're like, really? Okay. We'll rearrange things for you. Because he is relishing this role.
Yeah, he also confirmed that he does survive to the end of this season.
Well, if he survives at the end of the season, then maybe it's some weird kind. I guess they finished shooting season 2, so he would know if he were in it or not.
I think they were coming up to the end of shooting in season 2.
Just about. That seems to have been going on for a couple of weeks. So
Yeah.
all I'm saying is that the scripts would be done, so you'd know if Nusbraka was going to be in there or not. And I don't know how the season ends, but I will miss him.
Yeah, because they also need time, to make the contracts with the actors and stuff like that, I guess.
He also needs to argue with whether he should be in the show and whether he's good enough to be in the show, and argue with his character. And or like one of you said in the group chat, look in the mirror and start punches his own reflection because he's not sure who he's looking at.
So when it comes to the marriage abduction tradition in this episode, what is everyone's thoughts? What would the sealing look like, since we didn't actually see the event? The LDS, which I'm guessing doesn't mean Lower Decks Church, does sealing ceremony as part of marriage, for example?
This was mine, so I'll put out what my thoughts are, and you guys can say what you think. I was thinking about this because on Earth, the Mongols, and I'm talking about like the Genghis Khan Mongols, I don't mean it as a pejorative. The Mongol Empire had the tradition of the bride kidnapping. In this case, we've got a groom kidnapping, but they had the tradition of an actual bride kidnapping, and the bride was actually supposed to at least make an effort to fight off the potential groom in order to prove that she was strong enough to be by his side. And then the sealing thing, I thought the term was interesting because on Earth, the only mainstream religious faith, and marriage and religion are usually hand in hand, even in Star Trek. The only religious faith that practices sealing that I'm aware of is the Latter-day Saints, which is what I meant by LDS. The Latter-day Saints or Mormon Church, they practice something called sealing as part of their marriage ceremony, which is supposed to say that even in death, you will still be married when you get to the other side. So I'm kind of going, okay, they've got this one ancient Earth thing, basically, with bride kidnapping. And then you've got something that, to me, right away, I just thought Mormonism, because it's the only one that I know of with sealing. And I could be wrong, but that's the only one I know of.
I think I read that too.
And that's they're a more modern religion. So what's going on here with this? It seems like...
Didn't they at least have something similar in like ancient Egyptian mythology? Like, I know obviously like that was the belief that like objects and stuff, their belongings would be with them after death. But I don't know.
I mean, everybody has an afterlife.
Yeah.
But whether there's a ceremony that actually marries you in the afterlife, I haven't heard of.
LDS is the only one I'm aware of, because as far as I know, every other religion or spiritual faith, basically marriage ends at death, because in whatever afterlife comes, we don't know what's there. I mean, in the Christian faith, the Bible specifically states there is no marriage and giving of marriage in heaven. Like it's in the New Testament somewhere. In Eastern faiths that believe in reincarnation, you might not even meet that person again in your next life. Like on Earth, like in our religious tradition, ends at death.
I think though that the word sealing made sense to an audience that isn't necessarily a sci-fi audience. It's like married, sealed, delivered, whatever.
Delivered. He was delivered. He was signed, sealed, and delivered.
I took it in a completely different way, because I was like, well, it could mean like the obvious way and the way that we've discussed, but also with the Keonians previously being referred to as like an amphibious species before now, I thought it could mean like, like a seal, an animal.
Oh.
And
Okay, to a Canadian, Dan, to use that one, that's when the seal, that would be referring to the seal hunt up in the north, which is actually, well, it's a traditional practice. It is a little bit brutal if you're an animal person. So it's funny you say like a seal, because now I'm thinking Inuit seal hunt tradition, which is something else.
Oh God.
Personally, I would have to say for this whole deal about abducting Raimi, I thought convenient plot device in order to lure
Yeah.
Jaden into an adventure with him. It was pretty convenient, and they, of course, had to make it look like Raimi was in danger, or else Jaden wouldn't take as much interest.
Right, exactly.
But as for precedence, I couldn't really say. I'm not as well versed as Eve here. But I just saw it as just a convenient way to lure him into the adventure.
And there's sort of
Yeah.
there's another question that ties into this as well. Raimi and Kira and tradition. Does this call back to Billups in the Lower Decks episode where his mom tries to force his marriage, or is it more like Spock and T'Pring? So it's basically like about arranged marriage.
Well, you got they were promised as children, he said, which is like Spock and T'Pring.
Yeah.
But this feels a lot more like Billups because of how his planet, his mom pretty much tried to force him into marriage. And it sounds like in Raimi and Kira's case, even though they care about each other, that it's not their choice. They're being pushed into it.
And certainly pushed into it too early because of this abdication, which again was very convenient.
It did, however, muddy but it did muddy the waters because Raimi and his betrothed, well, there really was a chemistry there, and I think they really do each genuinely love each other. Just not the right time.
Right. And that as an emotion feels authentic.
Yeah, so young. I mean, how many of us would be like, 17, 18 and ready to, make that kind of commitment?
One thing I was confused about with Raimi now that we've seen this episode is he a prince or was he just going to be royal because she says you're not royal yet? Is it just by marriage and he happens to be it happens to be the Lord Admiral that he's the son of or something like that?
There is I'm going with Earth history again. It's implied too that Kira is also from sort of what we would consider a noble or royal lineage, and there is some royal families that did have the custom that the heir presumptive, who in this case would be Remy, did not fully achieve their royal status until marriage. Because marriages among royal and noble houses have always been more about political first and preserving the bloodline. So there is a precedence there that he could be sort of the heir presumptive, but he doesn't fully take on his mantle until he's married into an appropriate marriage.
Then why is she already royal?
Eve, I was going to back you up on that one because yes, these marriages are political, but in the Middle Ages, for example, it wasn't unusual to have them betrothed as children.
Yeah. And as far as her being already royal, I mean, Raimi, it's been said he's royal. It wasn't until he got to his planet that we realized he doesn't fully get that title. If they're going with that kind of tradition, it could be a case where the royal tradition that women are not fully their own, women are somewhat property. They could have that kind of thing going where she's royal because she's of her father until she leaves him and becomes of her husband. So she doesn't.
But it's established before this episode that it says something like he's royal or something like that because you see his personnel record in the Cisco episode briefly, like at the start, and it says something there like that he's royal, and that's obviously before he returns to the Keonian realm. Which is, I thought it was interesting as well that they deliberately chose not to set any scenes, as far as we can tell, on Keonia. That's on the moon. Yeah, sunset moon.
Honestly, and the moon looked more like Vulcan or Kronos.
Yeah.
I was like, this moon does not make sense for amphibians.
I get a little lost on Keonia in terms of, are the Keonians they live in water? They don't live in water? It's an ocean planet? I'm confused. They have gills. He obviously said that, which I guess are now not visible. But I thought that when he changed to go out on the hull, I thought that was the true Keonian visage.
Yeah.
And that didn't seem to me like an underwater species. So,
But then
But that
again,
might-
we have underwater species on Earth we don't know about because we can't go down that far. So
there
Yeah,
you
and
go.
also
That's a
that
good
might
point.
explain when you do see his personnel records, why it is that appearance. Do you see like that's the natural, way that he looks, perhaps.
the thing with his personnel record saying he's royal too could just be the way Starfleet keeps its records, because Starfleet's not gonna. They are still a paramilitary. Their records are going to be military efficient. So he comes from a royal family, so they would just put down that he's royal lineage. They're not going to get into the specifics of he's not royal yet or he has to get married to be. They're not going to get into that kind of specific
Great.
because it doesn't concern them. So I
Yeah.
don't think
Once
it's too big
again,
of a hole.
sometimes I think that if we have to do these contortions, that it is
Yeah.
a bit of a hole, and that somebody is going to come out after this and say, yeah, we called him royal at first and we put it in the thing, and then we decided that he couldn't leave his planet if he really was, destined for leading it. That would be the Raimi episode here where they say goodbye to him, because that's the theme of the episode.
Like they're giving themselves an out.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
And
reminds me of
Kyra,
Voyager.
Kyra did say once the marriage thing happened, she did tell him he had to abdicate. So, and that is literally a royal term.
Right. No, I definitely believe that he got to be royal after he married. It just made me think he wasn't royal at all beforehand. So
It could be
That
a
Definitely
case of-
nobility.
It could be
Definitely
sloppy writing. It could just be sloppy writing too. I mean, it calls to mind how Marina Sirtis, her accent as Deanna Troi is all muddled for the first season or so. Like she has an inconsistent accent because from what I heard, she was told, to sound exotic. And they couldn't figure out what they meant by that. So, and she of course would have a naturally British accent. Because correct me if I'm wrong, she's British, but like if you listen to her in season 1, her accent is all over the place, and then she kind of settles into one later on, and it was because there was poor direction there.
She got really surprised that Major Bat Roddenberry was not playing it with that accent as Alexander Troy.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Sounded to me like exotic is more like coin the term for act hot.
Well, no,
like
in
an
this
exotic
case,
dancer.
No, in this case, they meant exotic as because they hadn't defined
Foreign.
the Betazoids as a species. Yeah, it was a polite way of saying foreign, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do think that as I'm, picking on this episode in particular, that for a first season, this has been a lot smoother than Next Gen's first season. So, I give it credit for that.
Yeah,
to be fair, this one's
have the
coming
characters
in.
dialed in.
And this one is coming in when we've already had several years of newer Star Trek for it to follow, whereas Next Gen was how many years after the original series ended, right? So there was that gap
20,
there.
like nearly 20.
Yeah,
they were more going on.
Huge.
They were
it's
more,
like Enterprise.
They were more going on like the basis of the movies, production-wise.
That makes sense.
Had the first 4 movies.
Enterprise was really rough too because it was how many years after Voyager before
Not long.
Enterprise. It wasn't
No,
long.
no. It was right after it.
It was but the thing is, how much did the world change? Because because that was also around 9/11.
It was,
and the whole world
in
changed.
fact, one of the seasons was the Xindi were 9/11.
Yeah. So seeing that, like how Enterprise comes across as a little rough because the world went through this abrupt change between Voyager and Enterprise, and Star Trek does like to try and reflect the current reality. So I mean, for them, it was kind of rough.
like you're talking about 9/11 and stuff like that, but I don't think there was like a massive paradigm shift like at the start of Enterprise, because it
No.
wasn't until the episode Civilization where production on that episode until the news broke that 9/11 had happened. So they had like Broken Bow and everything, before that.
Yeah.
They were also going with something new, and with Enterprise, because Enterprise was set before, it wasn't in our established timeline. And Discovery went through the same problem. It was several years since Enterprise that we got Discovery, and Discovery was set even before, like after Enterprise, but before Kirk. So I think Starfleet Academy's had an advantage that it's coming out on the heels of several, new Star Treks, whereas some of the other ones didn't have that advantage. Discovery sure as heck did not have that advantage. Next Gen didn't have that advantage.
Strange New Worlds is caught in its, own specified timeline.
I think that more is a spin-off of Discovery.
Strange New Worlds?
As far as establishing new shows, I would say that they're starting to get, again, to bring out a tired phrase, dial it in. They're starting to get more solid first seasons.
Yeah.
And I believe Discovery, it was a bit trial and error, and then they got progressive.
Well, they also had massive turnover behind the scenes. So
which again was like Next Gen season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They were also trying something a little new, focusing on one character as opposed to making an ensemble.
Right. Wait, you mean Strange New Worlds, or?
No.
Discovery. I'm sorry. Discovery. Yes. I'm sorry. I just that was a brain fart. Sorry.
I think they were. I think maybe they found maybe that concept doesn't quite work as well as they'd like, and then they refined it with later series by featuring more ensemble and learning those lessons from Discovery.
But with returning to Starfleet Academy, with Jaden's speech, what do you think of his burgeoning public speaking skills? Can anyone draw comparison to Worf's monologues when they see Jaden speaking?
I didn't, but I thought it was a really good speech. And it seems as though Jaden comes through when he absolutely has to. When he's passionate.
When he's got a reason that there's some urgency, or that it's down to the wire, he needs to do this type thing. Like he needs to have a fire under his butt for things to happen. Is the kind of the impression I got. Like he can deliver when that fire is under his butt, but until you light the fire, he's still an extremely passive character.
I tend to think that Jaden, in comparison to Worf, there's that Klingon passion, that heart, and that fire within.
Yeah.
And it comes out very eloquently. In DS9, Worf had some really good scenes and monologues, especially when he talks to quite great length about his love for Jadzia. I mean, you can really see it come out there. When Jaden speaks publicly, both in both the episodes where he does so, he really speaks from the heart, and that's where he shines. And I'd also like to throw out there that I think it's indicating that the writers and producers and directors there, I think in Jaden, they're finding the breakout character. And I believe they're going to bring out more of these in the future.
I mean, break out other characters or concentrate more on him?
Concentrate more on him.
Okay. That's an interesting, again, haven't seen anything past what we've seen publicly, so I can't comment, but that's a really interesting observation.
An observation I had was like early in the episode, you see cadets being beamed away on the All Worlds Day holiday?
All Worlds Day.
All Worlds Day holiday.
Spring break Star Trek.
Yeah, spring break. It was
so they're all being beamed away, and Janice is like she's her destination apparently is Deep Space Shuttle Port Mumbai, So I wondered, if they have the ability to beam cadets directly to alien planets, why is Genesis apparently about to be beamed to a shuttle, which will then take her to a planet, apparently?
And if they can beam people to planets, do they need starships anymore?
I know,
It could
right?
be proximity. We do not know how far away her world is, so it could be a proximity thing. It could be
Right.
her world. It could be her world is behind some kind of defense that doesn't allow beaming in from there, like the betazoids are behind a wall. It could be her world. We don't know much about her species at all, so it could, because she's a
Right.
different species. So her world could be too far away. It could be a security thing. Like there's a number of very legitimate reasons within the 32nd century and how fragmented and isolationist so many of these worlds are. Plus, like I say, we don't know how far out her world is. Maybe her world's in a different quadrant and they can't beam that far. Like, to me, that was kind of a non-issue because I'm like, there's so many no offense, Dan, it was a good thought, but there's so many simple, legitimate reasons why, like, they couldn't just beam her there.
For me, it sort of it reminded me of Star Trek Into Darkness, where Khan beams from Earth to Kronos, and thereafter fans asking, well, if you can beam between planets, why do you need starships anymore? And I've always thought, well, the same thing about, like, why are people still in wheelchairs and, stuff like that? It could be preference, part of it, perhaps.
Right.
Well, McCoy, remember McCoy doesn't like beaming even in TNG. He gets and they're asking why does he get his own shuttle, and it's like, well, perks of being an admiral.
And I did think maybe hurt people are they don't like using transportation transporter.
Right, or so anything that scrambles your identity, your cells on a cellular atomic level or something like that. But I do think it's a little problematic to beam to different, especially here in the 32nd century where everything was destroyed and they're rebuilding. They have some sophisticated exceptions to this post-burn world universe.
Yeah. At the end of Discovery, they were developing something called a pathway drive to replace warp drive. I also think of Star Trek Voyager, when they introduced that one planet that could use teleportation technology, but the technology was proprietary and it depended entirely on the crystalline matrix of the planet.
Right.
So I thought maybe that's how the Kionians were doing it too. But who knows? There's just a lot of missing information that will keep us guessing for a long time. And I would also add, sometimes when you introduce such elements into a sci-fi series, you gotta be careful because it makes it harder to keep things, consistent, especially when you set a precedence.
Well, just the whole, I thought it was sort of clever, but when they go through, in the first episode, when they go through and Caleb is immediately changed and his hair is cut and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of missed the, actually seeing the transformation of these guys as opposed to it happening immediately. I think it was a cool effect, but it was a little unneeded, unnecessary.
Speaking of the way they changed their looks, I like the fact that they gave Sam a different hairstyle in this one, because with doctor, like the doctor still looks exactly the same as when he was brought online, except maybe a little bit older, which he explained that he aged his program to fit in, but it's also because, of course, the actor's not, as young anymore. But he's always kept the same look, even throughout Voyager, and even in his Hollow adventures, he always had the same look. Whereas I like that Sam comes and she's got that really neat hairstyle. It's almost like an anime style, because it's like, okay, so they're going to show that she's got a little more personality and that she's going to play with her look. Because for her, changing her look is as simple as, changing a few programming options.
Yeah, otherwise I could see a lot of time in the salon for a hairdo like that.
Yeah,
I would say that's cool.
The actress went through a lot to get the hair like that.
But I like that they're showing her having some changes, like she's experimenting with her look. To me, I think that shows that she's going to be sort of a subtle hint that she's going to try and become, or is going to become, more than what she started out as. To me, that's sort of a subtle thing. Like, okay, she's not going to be the same person all the way.
Like
she
Data, in a sense.
Yeah, she is glitching from the previous episode. With
Yeah.
the escaped animal, it sort of reminded me of the second episode of Star Trek Enterprise, where Hoshi Sato makes friends with Sluggo. I wondered, like, what do you think might be the evolutionary benefit of a slug developing warp travel?
Because a slug is dinner to most species.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
They're basically the tribbles of the animal kingdom.
Another contrived plot device, but
Yeah,
it was a
exactly.
cool one.
You know what? I'll take the warp capable slug over the Talaxian fur fly, because that's the Simpsons couch gag, but not funny. Throw it in there
Right.
once or twice. Throwing it in there once or twice it was kind of funny. Like the first time, okay, it was funny, but now it's just kind of like, oh, are we gonna have to hear this every episode that the fur fly is doing something? Like, why are they allowed to have this pet that they can't contain?
It's probably one of my favorite parts of each episode. It's like, what's happening to the fur fly now?
I think they need to do more like Radar O'Reilly on MASH, where he just kind of does a throwaway gag over the camp radio or camp PA speaker. Doesn't necessarily have to be Talaxian Furfly, but, you know, the occasional mishap or gag being announced would be kind of clever.
I just wish it wasn't the same one every time, because
Right.
The Simpsons got away with doing the couch gag for 30-something years, but it works because it's subtle and every time it's different. Whereas
every time it's different is a big deal.
Whereas this is always the same thing. The fur fly has escaped, essentially. It's like, come on, if we're going to do like a radio gag, do something, where it changes every time, like your potted plant is now chasing somebody's pet targ through the hallway or something.
Yeah.
I think I like it because I prefer it to, there was that announcement in episode 1 where it was like, to get your complimentary coffee or something like that. And I'm like, well, in the economics of the future, should it be complimentary? Because it isn't like every drink complimentary. Because it's...
Yeah, because it's replicated and...
Yeah.
Yeah, but not
replication
every
takes
species,
energy.
and not every species has given up currency. Not every species.
Maybe they required it after the burn.
Yeah.
Maybe,
yeah.
Like Voyager with the credit, like Voyager with the replicator credits. Because remember, for a while there, Voyager was on restrictions, so they had a sort of currency in the form of replicator credits. Because Tom Paris was caught gambling with them.
Yeah,
so
after all, replication is conversion of pure energy to solid matter, and I heard somewhere theoretically that such a process would be monstrously, enormously huge on an energy draw. Hence why they're using antimatter reactors, because it's the only power source that's powerful enough to handle it.
Well, time travel apparently involves a lot of energy.
So does AI, apparently.
Yeah. When Genesis and Caleb first meet up, when all the cadets have left, Genesis says that her dad is attending a symposium. Do you believe her, or do you think that might be part of her cover story for remaining aboard the Athena?
I thought it could be part of her cover story, except that she was headed to Mumbai for the shuttle thing. So unless she organized this all because she didn't want to leave Earth, and beamed over to Mumbai and then just beamed back, I think it's up in the air. I'm not sure it was real.
It's 50-50 for me, because he is an admiral. We get the sense that he is quite the admiral from what she's implied, and we know that Starfleet does love its symposiums, because we've heard every captain complain about having to attend these things. And especially, it's in a lot of career paths, it's not uncommon that you have to attend meetings and symposiums and stuff like that.
And you keep up your education, et cetera.
Exactly. And so to me, it's like, I think it's more like it was a convenient thing. It was happening, and it just made it more convenient for her. She was taking it because she's shrewd. So to me, it would be she was taking advantage of something, because anybody could check and see if her dad was actually attending that symposium. Anybody could.
That's true.
And it's
That's-
not
to me,
like
it's
they're
more
going to
like
offer him to ask. He's at a symposium. He might be presenting.
exactly. So
Yeah.
it's like, to me, it's more like it was there, and she just was like, "Yep, that's my moment."
Yeah, except it was really compressed because she didn't need a moment until she was offered the captain track.
Yeah, but we've seen her pivot on her feet before, and immediately assess, and
I believe it, but I'm just saying then it's awfully convenient that she was, going so close, and could come
True, but
back
if we're going with this being young adult type fiction, convenience is not usually an issue in young adult fiction. There's plenty of convenience.
That's true, but it doesn't make it any better. Like Dallas's tropes.
Yeah.
Not your tropes, the YA tropes you highlight.
Once the slug escapes, Jet Reno turns up. Why do you think Caleb goes into hiding with Genesis when Jet Reno is walking past? Whereas Genesis is not cleared to be there. He is. Caleb actually is.
I thought he wasn't cleared to be in anywhere
He's
but
not.
his quarters and the
Yep.
then
Yeah, maybe they weren't clear to be in the rummaging through the doctor's cabinet of medical anomalies, which actually reminded me of the menagerie that Phlox kept on the NX-01.
Yeah, remember Aki said that part of her argument for him not staying, she's like, everything will be in lockdown. You will be able to go to your quarters, you'll have access to the mess hall, but like everything would be off limits because it would be in lockdown. So I mean, he's cleared to be there, but he's not cleared to be in that place, and he knows it. Plus with Caleb too, I mean, his instinct in any situation initially like that, where he knows he could get in trouble, is probably going to be to hide because of his early life.
Yeah.
But Aki did say that, you're not allowed, you can only be here and here. Are you sure you're going to be okay with that? Which he seemed okay with in his shorts and cucumbers there.
Well, that was the atrium, wasn't it? Or
yeah.
He knows how to chill.
He was cleared to be in the atrium.
Okay. Yeah.
Although I honestly think they use that scene as another YA trope just to have an excuse to show him with no shirt and show all the muscles. Like, that was the impression I got from that scene.
Yeah, the bro definitely lifts.
Yeah. I definitely think that they're definitely into showing skin.
Thirst traps.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for the last question, what would you say your general opinion of this episode is? Do you feel this episode matters, or did you feel it was like a lot of filler? And any final thoughts about the episode, Eve?
Right now, there's nothing out of this episode that says it's going to have any real long-term consequences, other than maybe the fact that Genesis is now not getting fast-tracked to command, but she wasn't fast-tracked to command before, so really that comes some zero. We got Raimi coming back. We got to see like a brief peek at his culture, but it really doesn't tell us much about them. It doesn't really expand on him too much. Sam, there was nothing. We didn't see anything with her. She was just there at the beginning and gone. Caleb, there's not really much there that's new, other than him and Genesis have obviously found an equal footing, but really this episode doesn't move forward, in my opinion. It feels like what I heard you guys say when I first logged in about it's a bottle episode, or like what they say in Stargate, writing two people in a room.
Right.
And I get that from what I've seen from interviews with writers, that those episodes can be incredibly hard to execute because you don't have external forces. You've got only what's there in front of you. And I mean, Deep Space Nine did amazing with that.
Right.
This episode to me feels like it was a filler. Like it's one of those ones. It's not like Shades of Riker bad in terms of filler, but it is a filler episode. Did it add anything? Not really. Has it changed anything? Not really. Could you skip it, watch the next episode? Probably.
Okay. Thanks.
take it or leave it is my opinion on it. It's not a standout really.
Cool.
I thought it
Dallas?
was Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, do you want to go ahead, Phyllis?
Oh, sure. I'm sort of with Even that I found it enjoyable. The only point I would make about what value it has is that it deepened Genesis, at least. Again, I think not artfully, but we definitely know more about her. And I, for one, feel more empathetic toward her with this episode. But I didn't think that the Raimi part really did come sort of full circle. He left a jerk Academy student, and he came back a jerk Academy student, and it was a little bit like what I didn't like in an earlier episode, maybe it's the first or second, where he wasn't getting emails from his parents, and he thought there was something wrong with his pad. And I was like, that's not enough to sort of set up that he's doesn't matter to his parents. That I kind of felt the same superficiality with this storyline.
So Dallas?
I think from a standalone episode point of view, middling. Though there was some essential character building and storytelling going on there, and there were some good points. But overall, pretty mid episode. From a seasonal arc, it was definitely essential. After all, storytelling has to have its peaks and valleys, and we're getting close to the end of the season where they're going to definitely ratchet it up a tad. So they sort of needed that episode from a seasonal point of view to, break the tension, do some essential developing, and, slow it down a little bit. It's like with Shakespeare, even he had to have his scenes where there was, humorous monologues, or the Alas Poor Yorick thing. You need
but the Alas Poor Yorick thing was actually quite a deep scene if you actually pay attention to what he's doing. It's not like a throwaway scene to lighten the mood. That's not one of the lighter scenes in Hamlet.
I heard of a different interpretation of it. Like originally, it was just two guys in a graveyard being jackasses while playing with some guy's skull.
No, that's where he's doing his final soul searching. Sorry.
Fair enough. But
the Shakespeare part holds.
Yeah, the Shakespeare part makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. After all, you can't have an audience constantly ratcheted on tension. It's just going to burn them out.
Says the Fallout fan.
Fair enough.
Michelle?
I'm going with the filler, I'm afraid, on this one, because after the previous episode, I actually was disappointed with this one, because it sort of fell flat for me. There was a bit of character developed for Genesis, but other than that, I don't even know how to call it a bottle episode, because usually, having watched DS9 a few times, a bottle episode is usually between two characters and practically nothing else. And there seemed to be like an A plot and a B plot to this one. And I thought,
I think
concentrating
I just
on
use bottle
the
show
one,
because I think in comparison to the others, this would be their version of a bottle show.
Yeah, when I think about that sort of episode, I'm thinking Duet. I'm thinking The Wire. All from DS9.
Shadowcraft 1.
Yeah.
Two-handers.
Paper moon, that sort of thing.
But those are like a version. Those are like a subset of bottle shows, but they are the real bottle shows. Yeah. You're right. In the real bottle shows, you don't go off your permanent sets.
No.
So.
I thought the last episode was great, and this one fell flat, and there was no Paul Giamatti to save it, I'm afraid.
I suppose after the last few episodes, it's kind of hard to beat that, right?
Yeah.
Well, they did say Paul Giamatti's got a back injury from carrying the whole show. So, according to the internet.
So I probably put this episode above episode 5, the Cisco episode, because I don't think that episode is really quite accessible to anyone who doesn't know or doesn't like maybe Deep Space Nine. You know, if you're not familiar with Deep Space Nine, like how are you supposed to know who Cisco is? And I don't think it. I think it just drops you in there. You know, I don't think it really explains it very well. So I put it above that one, even though personally I really enjoyed that episode. I don't think it's quite to the standard of episodes like 4 and 6. I really liked like the Klingon episode and the one where Paul Giamatti came back. So I think I enjoyed them more than episode 7. But nonetheless, I did enjoy episode 7, and I would agree with Dallas that it seems apt to sort of like take the tension, the stakes down a bit before they're ramped up more as the season progresses, I would say.
But you don't want to put the audience to sleep either.
Yeah.
Or annoy them like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am finding that overall these 7 episodes taken as a whole are pretty good. They're doing a pretty good job of a first season show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
It feels like they're hitting, like, if you're looking at it most at a younger audience, because no disrespect to any of us here, but I'm pretty sure we're all, 40 or north of 40. Michelle's the one I won't guess. I'm no good at guessing ages. Michelle might be outlier, but I know the rest of you, and we're all, at least 40 or above.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I mean, if they're targeting this.
Eva, I'm not the sort of person that hides their age. I can tell you that I'm over 50.
Okay. I wasn't sure because I have trouble with ages, and you definitely look amazing for that. So you look way younger than I do.
Well, I'll be 54 in my birthday, so.
With that in mind, I'm kind of curious what Gen Z or even a Gen Alpha would make of this particular series, especially with
me too.
If it's fresh and new to them.
Because I feel like with Prodigy, and I know even the original animated series was meant to be more for a younger audience. But like when I think of Star Trek targeting a non-adult audience, there's Prodigy, which to me, if you watch Prodigy like a child, it totally works. It's got everything there that kids want to see. And then this one, if their target is, sort of the university age kids or like late high school age kids.
Yeah, the high school aspiring and into their 20s. I think they're really hoping for kids in their 20s.
To me, then it totally works. It makes sense why we have to have guys with no shirts on and everything else.
Right.
Why we
have
as
someone pointed out, like there have been so many scenes where women were sexualized and stuff like that. Or hardly any clothes on. So there has been like the Riker scene, the Spock scene where they've bare casted and stuff. So it's not anything new that Star Trek.
There you go. It's just within. I'm with Dallas, and it's within those tropes that are also TV tropes of show some skin, and that's what people are coming for.
Which they're doing with Terima. The Sensors missed a spot or two, definitely. But at least it's not as tawdry as how they treated T'Pol.
Right.
And then you've got like Caleb, that entire scene with him in the atrium. That scene was simply just there for any younger female viewers to go, myself. So,
yeah.
There was no purpose. Yeah, there was no point to have, because it was a complete overhead shot that comes down.
Right.
It's like and what guy sits there with cucumbers on his eyes? Like that's
metrosexual.
Yeah, well, that's a trope in itself to have the cucumbers on the eyes and everything. But the whole scene, that was just literally there just to be fan service, in my opinion. Like they could have done
he was oiled up.
Yeah, they could have done that scene. They could have done that scene fully clothed, and it still would have had the same amount of impact on the plot. They just filmed it that way because they got to be like, we can't just show the girls nude. Let's show the guy nude too.
Hey,
not exactly. Well, that would. I don't think that would be. That wouldn't be acceptable in Star Trek if he was completely nude. I'm glad he's not.
Oh no.
Well, I don't know. Betazoid weddings, man. Betazoid weddings.
Well, yeah, but even then, if they ever show a Betazoid wedding, or surely they would shoot around it, just like they did with nude scenes with Dr. Phlox. Like, they don't show everything.
Right,
Well,
right.
We did see
No, it's
Loaxana
just-
from behind. We did see a nude Loaxana from behind in that one episode where she was going to go through with one of her many marriages.
Menage a Troy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we did see her from behind, and it was very obvious she was, not supposed to be clothed.
Anyway, this has been Naked Opinions on Soulplace Chatter. And we have 3 episodes more of the season to go. We hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, please click the like and subscribe buttons. And thank you very much for watching. And we hope that you enjoyed the rest of the season and hope that you join us for those reviews. Track you later.